Hey there, fellow parents! Are you excited about starting solids with your little one? I know I was. But let's be real. It can also be a bit nerve-wracking, right? I remember constantly Googling, "Can my baby eat?" for weeks on end. Don't worry though, we're in this together, and today I'm going to walk you through the foods you should definitely avoid before your baby turns 1. Trust me, some of these might surprise you. In this video, we're going to cover everything from choking hazards to allergy risks, and even foods that could affect your baby's development. I promise by the end, you'll feel so much more confident about what to feed and what not to feed your little one. So, let's dive in and make mealtime safe and fun for your baby. All right, let's start with the biggest choking hazards for babies under 1. This is super important, so listen up. First on the list, whole grapes. I know, they seem harmless, right? But their shape and size make them a serious risk. Always cut grapes into quarters lengthwise. It takes an extra minute, but it's so worth it for peace of mind. Next up, whole nuts. These are just way too hard for those tiny gums. But here's a tip I wish I'd known earlier. Smooth nut butters can be a great alternative once your pediatrician gives the okay. Just spread it thin on toast, never give it by the spoonful. Raw carrots and apples are another no-go. I remember offering my little one a slice of crisp apple, thinking it was healthy. Thankfully, my mom friend stopped me. Instead, try steaming these harder fruits and veggies until they're nice and soft. Your baby still gets all the nutrients, minus the choking risk. Oh, and popcorn? As tempting as it is to share during movie night, it's a big no-no for babies. Same goes for hard candies and marshmallows. Basically, anything that's hard, round, sticky, or crunchy is best avoided until they're older and have better chewing skills. Here's a little rule of thumb I use. If I can't squish it between my fingers, it's not ready for my baby. It's simple, but it works. Now, let's talk about foods that aren't necessarily choking hazards, but their tiny bodies just aren't ready for yet. This section really opened my eyes when I was a new mom. First up, honey. I know, it seems so natural and healthy, right? But here's the thing. Honey can cause a serious illness called infant botulism in babies under 1. Even a tiny amount isn't worth the risk. I was so glad I learned this before my well-meaning mother-in-law tried to give some to my baby. Next, let's talk about cow's milk as a drink. This one surprised me at first. I mean, isn't milk supposed to be good for growing bones? Well, yes, but not for babies under 1. Their little kidneys aren't ready to handle it yet, and it can actually interfere with iron absorption. Stick to breast milk or formula as their main drink for the first year. Processed meats and super salty foods are another no-go. Baby kidneys are still developing and can't handle high amounts of sodium. I remember feeling a bit guilty when I realized how much salt was in some of the foods I almost gave my little one. Now, I always check labels and stick to fresh, whole foods as much as possible. And while we're talking about things to avoid, let's chat about sugar and sweet treats. I know it's tempting to let your baby try a little taste of your dessert, but their tiny bodies really don't need any added sugar. Plus, starting those sweet habits early can make it harder to introduce healthier foods later on. Trust me, there'll be plenty of time for birthday cake in the future. Here's a quote I always keep in mind. Just because it's on the table doesn't mean it's safe for your baby yet. Their tiny systems are still developing. It's a good reminder that what's okay for us isn't always okay for them. Now, let's move on to a topic that used to be super confusing, but has actually changed a lot in recent years. Common allergens. This is where things get interesting. You might have heard that you should avoid giving your baby things like eggs, peanuts, dairy, fish, or wheat for the first year. But guess what? The guidelines have changed. New research shows that introducing these foods early might actually help prevent allergies. Isn't that wild? But, and this is a big but, you need to introduce them carefully. Here's what I did. I started with one new food at a time, always during the day, never right before bed, and then watched closely for 2 to 3 hours. It made me feel so much more in control. For things like peanuts, I started really small. My pediatrician suggested mixing a tiny bit of peanut powder into breast milk or oatmeal. It was way less scary than I thought it would be. Remember, early introduction can help prevent allergies. Just go slow and watch closely. And of course, always check with your pediatrician first, especially if you have a family history of allergies. As we wrap up, I want to reassure you, you don't need fancy, expensive baby foods to keep your little ones safe and healthy. Simple, whole foods with safe textures are perfect. Steamed veggies, mashed fruits, soft cooked meats. These are all great options. And here's something really important to remember. Every baby is different. What works for your friend's baby might not be right for yours. When in doubt, don't hesitate to check with your pediatrician. They're there to help, and no question is too small when it comes to your baby's health and safety. You know what? You're doing amazing. Seriously. Navigating all this baby feeding stuff isn't easy, but you're here, learning, and doing your best. That's what matters most. Before we go, I'd love to hear from you. Were you surprised by any of the foods we talked about today? Maybe you have some safe feeding tips of your own to share? Drop a comment below. I always love learning from other parents. And hey, if you found this video helpful, why not subscribe? I share new baby feeding and development tips every week. We're all in this parenting journey together, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Remember, you've got this. Your baby is lucky to have a parent who cares so much about their health and safety. Keep up the great work, and I'll see you in the next video.